I'm sure it's very unique to people when somebody says, God called me to do this. It's not like he called me up on the phone and said, this is what you're going to do. But I had listened to a teaching that was back then recorded on cassette tapes. And I had had a real strong encounter with God, just crying out to him, asking him to do something in my life. I was already a Christian, had been in church for a long time, but just didn't have any victory in my life. And I kind of came to that point where I just knew something wasn't right. It's just like, surely there's more to this than this. I don't have the peace I read about. I don't have the joy I read about. And so I cried out to God to do something in my life, and he really did touch me and just made me really aware of his love. And so I started listening to more teaching, and I was listening to a teaching cassette tape. And I remember it being 60 minutes long, and it was all based off of one little group of scriptures. And I just was just so amazed that somebody could preach that long on one thing and keep my interest. And I didn't realize that when the anointing's there, that it keeps your interest. And I was actually making my bed when I was listening to that teaching and doing some housework. And I just felt very strongly, we say God said to me, but it's not so much that everything comes in words. I think it was just like this overwhelming desire came that someday I'm going to do that. I'm going to teach the word and go all over the world. And I felt like the Lord spoke to my heart that I'd have a large teaching tape ministry, which is kind of unique. But if you think about it now, even just being on television around the world, everything does go out by some kind of recorded message. And so I am teaching the gospel around the world through recordings that are made of teachings that I do in the United States and in my conferences. And I just believe that when God calls a person to do something that they know. People say, how do you know that God's calling you? Well, I just think that you know. And it's usually something that even if you want to get rid of it, you can't. There were times in my life when, trying to birth the ministry was so hard and I had so much opposition. And for me as a woman in ministry, when I started 40 years ago, was very unheard of and unpopular. It just wasn't something that people did very often at all. So you got a lot of judgment and criticism for it. But I had such a strong desire to do it that's never really left me from that day until this. So I just think that people know.
Tune in to The Profile Interview in association with Christianity Magazine every Saturday at 4 p.m. only on Premier Christian Radio, where faith comes to life.